To Business Now, and the management of Air France-KLM is to start discussing job cuts with unions after it reported losses of almost €2 billion in the first 3 months of 2020. The Franco-Dutch airline group has grounded the vast majority of its Air France flights because of the pandemic. It secured close to €10 billion in emergency government loans from help in order for it to survive. For more, let's speak to our business editor, Stephen Carroll. Stephen, these figures only cover the period until the end of March, but the picture at Air France is very grim indeed.
It sure is. As you say, the figure's only covering until the end of March, but passenger numbers still down by 20% in the first 3 months of this year, as those lockdown measures were coming into place in France and elsewhere in the world in the middle of March. Air France doesn't see that picture getting much better for the rest of the year. In fact, it says that in those first 3 months, around €500 million was wiped off its operating revenue or its operating profits as a result of the shutdown in March. It says that in the current period until the end of June, it's grounded 95% of its flights, and for the period from July to September, it only expects to operate around 20% of its flight schedule. So it will be a long road back to recovery for Air France. The CEO of Air France-KLM, Ben Smith, saying that they have organised a meeting with unions for June to discuss staff cuts. Those are expected to be big staff cuts. If you were to think about the airline British Airways, they're cutting 12,000 staff members. No indication yet of how many jobs may be affected at Air France. But Ben Smith saying that he does want to examine, first of all, the possibility of voluntary departures from the company, but giving you an indication of just how precarious a financial situation the airline is in. They're burning through €400 million a month of cash at the moment just to stay afloat. And that's despite the airline having secured government funding, €7 billion in emergency loans from the French state, between 2 and 4 billion under negotiation from the Dutch state for the airline group, both of those having a stake in Air France-KLM. The company says that it will be re-examining particularly its domestic routes in France, the majority of which are not profitable as a result. It's also made environmental commitments to the government as a result of that bailout money, so they're going to have to change the way they look in the future, and it could be a very long time before Air France sees its schedule return to normal. It's saying that it could be several years before it returns to pre-crisis levels of passenger numbers.
Now, in the meantime, the Bank of England has published its latest forecast for the UK economy, and that's not a bright picture either, is it, Stephen?
No, it's the worst recession predicted in the UK in hundreds of years, in fact. If the Bank of England has tried to extrapolate how this data would go back into the past, and they're saying, in fact, you'd need to go to nearly the start of the 18th century to find a recession so deep. 14% is what they're expecting the UK economy to contract by this year. It's expected that in the 3-month period from April to June, it'll be a contraction of 25% for the UK economy. So a huge shock to the British economy there. The bank saying that it's not announcing any new measures to help the economy for the moment. It had already announced that it was going to spend £200 billion buying government debt to help to finance the government efforts in combating the economic effects of the virus. It says it stands ready to do more as well, but it's working now on a picture that would see social distancing measures reduced between June and September of this year. That's the basis on which the forecasts from the Bank of England are coming, and they're still seeing that 14% fall this year, but a significant recovery next year. If you just compare to the figures we have from other major European countries, the French economy expected to shrink by 8% this year, the German economy by 6.5%. It looks like in percentage terms, the UK dip could be more severe. But what the Bank of England does say is that it doesn't expect this particular economic crisis to leave any lasting scars, and that would be a contrast with the financial crisis of 2008.
Stephen Carroll reporting there. Thank you.